our Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line. Honored and excited to talk to House Homeland Security Chair Mark Green, the great congressman out of District 7. Congressman, thanks for dropping by.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ben. Glad to be with you.
Can I get your thoughts on just the latest development coming out of the White House? So you know the stats. According to the FBI director, Jews make up about 2.4% of the U.S. population, but are the targets of 60% of the hate crimes. And of course, we're seeing the rise of anti-Semitism rising across the country. So apparently the White House thought this is the time to counter Islamophobia, per the vice president. Your reaction to that?
I get speechless sometimes with the things they do, and just when you think they can't get any more ridiculous, something like this happens. It reminds me, it harkens back to when, under the Obama presidency, when, of course, Joe Biden was vice president, they withdrew the missile shield from Poland on the day that Russia invaded Poland. It's as if it has to be intentional. I mean, I can't imagine that they're this stupid. But it's really offensive, and I have very dear friends, Jewish friends, and they're livid, and appropriately so.
Yeah, I mean, tone deaf is such an understatement. But let's talk about let's talk about the FBI director and the Obama administration, because when I was listening to Christopher Wray, we have a little bit of audio. He harkened back to the Obama days, and he said, "You guys remember the threat of ISIS here at our homeland? What's actually worse than that?" I want you to get your reaction to this cut. Cut 4, please.
The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level.
To a whole new level. What does that mean for our listeners here in West Tennessee?
Well, obviously we have a completely open southern border because of the Biden Mayorkas policies. I mean, I tell people, I was talking to a senator yesterday who was trying to negotiate more money for border security on the supplemental, and I'm like, the only thing that changed are the policies. We have the same budget we had under the previous president. We have the same number of personnel. The only thing that changed were 89 policies that were removed that created a completely open border, and that has put every American at risk on multiple levels. And the risk to terrorism is real because of the known and unknown gotaways. We have seen an unprecedented number of known and suspected terrorists that have been apprehended at the southwest border, to the tune of well over 250. So in the last 3 years of the Trump presidency, there were 11. And then when you hear the delta there, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
So obviously with the open border, these guys have taken advantage of it. There are 1.7 million known gotaways. Those are the ones that Border Patrol got an eye on them but couldn't get to them. So they count those as a known gotaway. Yeah, I saw 8 guys cross 500 meters from me, and I lost them as I was pursuing them. Or I was taking care of little kids, and I couldn't go get them. So those are 1.7 million people. How many Hamas terrorists are in that group? And it's interesting, on November the 15th, in my committee, we will have Director Wray as well as Secretary Mayorkas in front of our committee at the same time for a worldwide threats briefing. And we're going to ask Wray, how much harder has Mayorkas's open policies made your job? And they're going to be sitting right next to one another. And so, tune in. I'm sure the networks will carry that, and people can see it on C-SPAN. But that's essentially where we are. We have some Uzbekis that were escorted in by ISIS that are loose in the country right now. That's a known threat, and the FBI is hunting them. But then in that 1.7 million unknowns, I mean, who knows?
Can I get an update on H.R. 2? That was your comprehensive border security legislation to me, Congressman. This seems like the time to get that passed. Where does it stand with the House and Senate?
So it passed we passed it in the House. got it through committee. And HR 2 is a really cool bill because what happened is two efforts occurred due to jurisdiction. One bill was written in my committee that we pushed. That's the border security piece of it. And then basically the immigration policies that have been exploited by Mayorkas went through the Judiciary Committee. We then combined those two bills into HR 2 in the Rules Committee, and it passed the floor of the House, I think in June. It's been some time ago. It sits languishing in the Senate. Now, there are senators who want to spend money on certain things on the border. Our thinking is this isn't a money problem, it's a policy problem, but we'll consider, for example, more X-ray machines at the crossing sites if you'll consider changing some of the policies. So we're in direct negotiations. I'll be talking with two senators today about what we can get policy-wise to try to save Americans' lives and what we have to give them on the dollar side in order to get that. So those negotiations are going on, and it's infuriating that we have to do that. But I want to save American lives. I want to provide national security because that's who I am. And so we're going to go through the negotiations and try to get as much policy as we can on the bills, the appropriation bills.